Trinidad and Tobago, a twin island state drawn together by historical events. Through the strength of our people, our nation rose from the ashes of our colonial past. Today, with the stately colors of our flag, we celebrate our 50th anniversary of independence and present, from Crown Colony to Republic, Trinidad and Tobago's independence journey.
The word democracy has its origins in 6th century Greece, where the terms demo, meaning people, and kratos, translated power, were first coined. It refers to government by the people or their elected representatives. Over the last century, numerous individuals and groups have emerged within civil society to represent the people's interests on varying platforms and ensure that our elected representatives enforce the collective will of the people.
The labor movement.
In 1919, Captain Arthur Andrew Cipriani, a veteran of the First World War, was elected president of the Trinidad Working Men's Association. Cipriani would become the first labor representative to gain membership on the Legislative Council in 1925, when the people were allowed for the first time to elect 7 of the 25-member legislature. After years of suppression of trade union activity by the Colonial Office, 2 labor pioneers, Adrian Cola Rienzi and Tubal Uriah Butler, were able to break through that barrier, signaling the birth of the trade union movement.
Adrian Cola Rienzi was the person who actually formed the All Trinidad Sugar Estates and Factories Workers Trade Union and the Oilfield Workers Trade Union in 1937. He was the president of both unions. I think maybe his greatest contribution to the political life of Trinidad and Tobago was that he started the process of bringing the 2 major races together, because that, in my opinion, has been the greatest debilitating factor in this country. He fought many battles for the workers. Also, he was the lawyer who defended Butler when Butler was tried. Again, he was mayor of San Fernando. So again, here you have the movement from labor into politics. Unlike Rienzi, Butler also went into politics. As you know, he formed the Home Rule Party. And he was an extremely powerful man, great charisma.
With the achievement of independence in 1962, it was expected that the needs of workers would be adequately addressed by the new government. However, it quickly became apparent that there was an attempt by government to suppress workers' rights, particularly through the proposed Industrial Stabilization Act, the ISA. In 1972, the ISA was repealed and replaced by the Industrial Relations Act, which contained key changes for the benefit of workers. Labor had successfully influenced the political directorate. In 1975, the United Labour Front was co-founded by trade unionists George Weeks, Basdeo Pandey, and Rafiq Shah to offer an alternative to the people.
By 1976, we transformed it into a political party. And the aim was to pursue the cause of the working class.
Trade unionists such as Tubal Uriah Butler, Baris Segan Mirage, George Weeks, Basdeo Pandey, and Errol MacLeod would continue to advocate effectively for better working conditions, compensation, and safety for workers both within and outside of the legislative system.
Rights and protection of women and children in society.
On May 24, 2010, the Honorable Kamla Persad Bissessa was elected as Trinidad and Tobago's first female Prime Minister. This momentous event marked the pinnacle of years of efforts by women in Trinidad and Tobago for equality of opportunity based on merit.
Now, Kamla Persad Bissessa didn't fall out of the sky. She's been doing what she's been doing for a very long time. As a local government representative, as a senator, as a part of the leadership of the party, and she understood the road to that leadership position. We know that it is that you have to learn the rules, because there are rules, use the rules and the system, change the rules and the system, so that there is a path that is open for other women. So the most significant thing that I think that her becoming the Prime Minister has done is that it has cleared a path. And you see the direction. The direction is not stick something up there. The direction is let us all move forward together.
From as early as 1946, with the appointment of Audrey Lane Jeffers, a social worker, to the Legislative Council, women have contributed to the work of Parliament. There have been many pioneers who blazed a trail for all women to follow. Isabel Tichet, the first woman elected to the House of Representatives. Ada Inez Date Camps, first female Vice President of the Senate. Dr. Linda Babulal, who became the first female President of the Senate, and Oka Sipol, the first female Speaker of the House.
In 1962 in Trinidad and Tobago, the laws of Inland Revenue put married women in the same category as children, imbeciles, and persons of unsound mind. That was the law. So I have come from back where women didn't have the kind of opportunities, young women, 20 years old, didn't have the kind of opportunities that young women have now. And I think it's important for us to say that at this point in time, they enjoy those benefits because of the work that other women have done over the last 50 years. And that contribution needs to be recognized and honored by the young women of today.
Diana Mahabir Wyatt, who served as an independent senator from 1987 to 2000, is a prominent example of the positive impact women in the legislature have had on society.
Once, a long time ago, when I was in very dire financial straits and I had 2 children to support and no job and really was having a hard time to survive, somebody that I didn't even know came to my door with a whole big pile of groceries and Pampers and whatnot, rang the doorbell and left. And I had enough to carry me through to the end of the month, and after that I had a job. And when I found out about, a year later who it was, and I went to thank her, I said, how can I ever repay you? And she said, you can't, pass it on. And since then, anytime I have found a woman in need, or anytime a woman has asked me for help, I help, because somebody helped me.
Owing to strong advocacy by Miss Mahabir Wyatt in Parliament and others, including Hazel Brown, Trinidad and Tobago has adopted several laws and signed on to various international conventions for the protection and rights of women and children. These include, among many others, the Sexual Offences Act of 1986, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, signed in 1990, the Domestic Violence Act 1991, the Children's Authority Act 2000, the Children's Life Fund enacted in 2012 to provide medical assistance for children.
Violence is learned behavior. And a lot of the issues related to women and girls is a function of who has power and how power is used. We have to find the ways to communicate different ways of using power and different ways of loving and caring that don't include the use of violence.
We talk very often in this country as though domestic violence is just something that men do to women, but it's not. It's something that women do to children. And one of the most important things to me, I think, is taking a leaf from Serval's book and teaching children how to be parents. From the time you are very small, if you have a good role model and you learn how to be a good parent, then you are less likely to be violent.
Embracing cultural diversity.
With its diverse mix of cultures and ethnicities, Trinidad and Tobago has become the melting pot of the Caribbean. However, as a result of this diversity, we have encountered challenges in building a society based on mutual acceptance and understanding. The Black Power movement of 1970 highlighted the need for constitutional reform to address social inequity in the society.
What happened in Trinidad at that period, it wasn't just the mutiny in the army that we led, but it was the Black Power revolution on the outside and broader scale in the country, labor unrest throughout the country, And even in a global context, it was a generational upheaval across the world. What we found was that the entrenched classes in the society that were mainly color skewed, they still control everything.
The Black Power movement was really a response of the society, which started with it had a sort of spontaneous development in the society because it was a response to the social and economic and the political conditions that existed at the time. That is why the words Black Power resonated the way they did in the society, because it was really a question of power. Who had power to shape the aesthetics of the society? Who had power to shape the social structure in the society? Who had power to determine the economics and the distribution of wealth and resources in the society? There were all these power questions. It was predominantly Africans in political power, and of course you had Indians as part of the mix. You had one or two other, groups, but we saw that the political structure turned out to be subservient, both to that international, the international forces, which were white-driven, and even to the local business elite, which a sociological study indicated was a predominantly white business elite. So Black Power was really a radical response to that, to bring about a just and equal society.
In a time when freedom of expression appeared to be under threat, new political entities emerged, including the National Joint Action Committee, NJAC, led by McCandle Dagger, and Tapia House Movement, which had at its helm Lloyd Best, who was well known for his opinions on new politics.
These parties that keep coming up, it's actually a triumph of the political system as it keeps trying to create vehicles for expression and for representation of interests that do not feel, even when they vote, they don't feel represented by the monolithic party system. And so we are seeing more and more groups of citizens are organizing themselves to have their voices heard. The notion that you would have one Afro and one Indo is being broken up every day by an increasing number, that middle group, that non-aligned electorate that can shift, is willing to shift, and therefore break out of the notion of ethnic solidarity, is an expression of the triumph of those small parties that were willing to start and take the first leg of the race to hand the baton on to the next that came.
In our 50 years of independence, Parliament and the people have had to work together to implement laws such as the Equal Opportunities Act 2000, which established the Equal Opportunities Commission to promote religious, ethnic, and cultural harmony.
It is perhaps the only way forward out of this notion of competition, ethnic competition, is for open discussion and for the truth of people's experience to come forward, as opposed to the manipulation that goes on.
The way forward.
To its credit, the Parliament of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago has made significant strides in becoming more receptive and accountable to the people in the last 50 years. Parliament has enacted the Consumer Protection and Safety Act 1985, the Freedom of Information Act of 1999, the Integrity in Public Life Act of 2000, as well as the Occupational Safety and Health Act 2004, amended in 2006.
But not enough of us make a noise. And if we don't make a noise, nothing's going to happen. Nobody's going to change just because there is a thought in our heads or we don't like something. What we have to do is make that like or dislike known. And eventually they do respond. If enough people write letters, call, make representations, go to public meetings, public opinion does have an effect, and I think that that's probably the most important thing we could do.
In charting our course for the future, every citizen must internalize the words of our national motto: together we aspire, together we achieve. For it is only as all sectors of society join together in unity that our vision of a strong Trinidad and Tobago, where every creed and race finds an equal place, will be realized.